I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
David Wells has pitched a perfect game. 27 up, 27 down. Baseball immortality for David Wells.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. Bates against Joseph. Bates in on goal. Shoots. Metho! Defend Metho! And the Rangers have one more hell of a time, baby!
This is the Cross Island Sports Network, where iconic moments get iconic coverage.
You are listening to the Cross Island Podcast.
Action! Hosted by Lyle and Errol Marks.
Welcome to a new show of the Cross Island Podcast. My name is Errol Marks, my co-host. Right over here, Lyle Gillian. Lyle, what's up, man?
Nothing much. Looking forward to having a great show coming off of the holiday weekend a couple weeks ago.
Oh, man, the holiday weekend. It's been crazy. Brittany's friends actually came out for, I think, an engagement party. We went out to Montauk Point over the weekend. I didn't actually do anything besides that this weekend. I usually work on the weekend, DJ, but no working for me this weekend. I was just relaxing and drove a long way to Montauk Point, which is 2 hours away from here. So, it's not one of those fun drives, that's for sure, especially when you have Brittany yapping in your ear. But, yeah, we have a great show lined up for you guys a little bit later in the show. Well, there's a lot to get into the show, but there's no little bit later. We're going to get into the New York Rangers, who just over the weekend got eliminated by the Florida Panthers, what the Rangers need to do in the offseason, what the Rangers did wrong in this series on reasons why they got eliminated. So we'll get into that. The Stanley Cup Finals are now down to two teams, the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. And what did the Edmonton Oilers do to get out of that series against a very good Dallas Stars team? So we'll get into that. NBA Finals, obviously, it's now down to two teams as well. The Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. So we will get into that series. Are the New York Mets the worst team in baseball? Well, Jorge Lopez thinks that they are. At least that's what he says they are. So we'll get into that. And the New York Yankees, most wins in the MLB. What do the Yankees need to continue doing to be consistent and be the team to beat in the second half of the season after the All-Star break? So we will get into that as well. So why don't we get into the New York Rangers and their elimination? I know a lot of Ranger fans right now are probably jumping off a cliff, jumping off a bridge. But here's what I'm going to say about this series. You had great goaltending. Shesterkin showed you why he's one of the great goaltenders right now in the NHL, probably top three. Some people would think he's the number one, as we heard Trocheck come out and say that he's the best goaltender, he's the greatest goaltender right now in the world. I disagree, but hey, you know what? That praises.
Who do you think is better?
Who do I think is better from last? I still believe Sorokin's better than he is. So, and that's not because I'm an Islander fan. That has nothing to do with it. Sorokin had a bad year.
Tell me why then.
Sorokin had a bad year.
Okay, but tell me why you think he's better.
Why do I think he's better? Because he's been beaten Shesterkin in every single division he's played against. The KHL, he won the championship.
Okay, but where did how you look at what he was doing in his career?
Yes.
Shesterkin has not been as good. I'm sorry. Sorokin has not been as good when it has mattered. He has not stepped up in the playoffs when they have needed him. He did that once in one game. He stepped up against Pittsburgh and had a shutout. After that, he has not stepped up at all. He was not great last year against Carolina. He was okay, and this year he was absolutely terrible in the one game they put.
We're not here to talk about Sorokin, and honestly, that's your opinion. And again, going back to what you say about Sorokin doesn't have a team in front of him. The team freaking stinks. So
listen, in front of Sorokin, he definitely has problems, but the thing is, he has a few things that they need to work on. They have figured out the roadmap to beating Sorokin. And the thing is, Shesterkin, the problems that Sorokin has right now in the NHL, Shesterkin has not had those problems at all. Shesterkin, in my opinion, is 110% better than Sorokin at this point in the NHL. I think he could become better. He could. But I think right now Shesterkin is just a better, more consistent goalie, more mechanically sound, and I fully agree that Shesterkin's a better goalie. I absolutely listen.
The Rangers have the best goaltending coach right now in the NHL. Okay, he's been the best goaltending coach really for the last 20 years. Sorokin has had how many goaltending coaches over the last 3 years? He's had two. He has two.
One.
He
had one.
What? He doesn't have another one?
No, it's been Pierre Greco this entire time.
And who's this goaltending coach now?
Pierre Greco.
No, he's not. He was fired.
No, he wasn't.
He was fired.
No, he wasn't.
He was fired.
No, he wasn't.
He was fired.
No, he wasn't. Mitch Korn left, but he was not a goaltending coach.
Well, I'm just telling you, they brought in a new goaltending coach from the KHL.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. There was an article.
No, they brought in a director of goaltending. That is different.
They brought in another goaltending guy.
Goaltending coach of the New York.
Listen, I'm not here to talk about the Islanders. We're getting into the Islanders. We went from why, who's better. That has nothing to do with the Rangers being eliminated in the playoffs. I don't know why we're getting into what my opinion is. Sorokin's a better goaltender than Shesterkin. You have your own argument to it.
I don't agree.
I disagree. Because I've seen Sorokin beat Shesterkin in the big game in the KHL. Shesterkin has never beaten.
You watched the KHL?
What? I did actually. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've got the stick, man. I can watch anything. So I watch the KHL. I watch the OHL. I watch the AHL. I watch everything. I'm a hockey fan too, man. You'd think I don't watch hockey, but that's whatever. I want to get back to the Rangers and where I see the Rangers now. The Rangers played against a better team. The Florida Panthers were the better team, and they got outmatched. I think obviously Barkov is one of the best centers in the league. He's a powerhouse. When he is 100% healthy, there's not many guys that could beat him in a faceoff. There's not many guys that can do the things that he can do, as he is a dual threat. He's a great defensive, offensive player, and he could do a lot of things great. And I was talking to Josh about this today, and I think what changed the Florida Panthers really was that trade for Matthew Tkachuk. When Matthew Tkachuk was traded to the Florida Panthers, it really changed the algorithm of what this team is and what this team can accomplish with the talent that they have, the youth that they have, the defensive style of game that they have. Bobrovsky, who I think, he didn't have a very good series against the Rangers. I don't care what anybody says. He did not play well. But when you have a good defense and you have an offense in front of you that can put the puck in the net, and really a good offensive defensive team, they play all four lines. All four lines are really, really good, and they're a gritty team. And to me, the problem with the Rangers in this series is they couldn't keep up with the Florida Panthers because they're a faster team. They're big players, Panarin, Kreider. Those guys couldn't get hot in this series like they did against Carolina, like they did against Washington. And because of that, when you look at the Florida Panthers and the depth that they had, the Panthers' depth outwilled the New York Rangers, outplayed the New York Rangers in every category. Offensively, we've been saying this. The Rangers are not good 5-on-5. Well, in this series, it proved they were not good on 5-on-5. And they barely could get on the power play. And when they got on the power play, they couldn't put the puck in the net in this series. So that was a big problem for the New York Rangers. What really kept them alive in this series was Shesterkin. Shesterkin stood on his head. He was averaging, I think, 37, 35 shots a game. And he really kept the Rangers throughout this series at will. The only problem with the Rangers in this series is when they needed a goal, they couldn't find it. And Peter Laviolette, for some reason, I'll say this about Peter. The only attack that I have for Peter Laviolette in this series is he pulled the goalie too quick. Every single game they were down by 2, he would pull the goaltender. And yes, the Rangers sometimes scored and it kept it. What?
That's what you're supposed to do.
3 minutes left of the game, 2.5 minutes left of the game. You're going to pull the goalie.
2.5 is pretty common.
No, not in the playoffs.
Yes, it is very much.
Not in the playoffs.
Very much. If anything in the playoffs, it's going to be will get done earlier than in the regular season.
I thought he pulled the goalie too quick. I think it was costly for the Rangers. And again, Laviolette is still, I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. I think the Rangers we're very lucky to pick him up. He was available, and that was the one move that I liked what Chris Drury did in the offseason. I didn't like some of the acquisitions that he made at the trade deadline. I like Wenberg. I think Wenberg is a guy that the Rangers should look to sign in the offseason. If they can get him on a pretty good contract, I would bring him back. I think there's a couple of pieces that the Rangers have to look to move in the offseason. Capo Caco is a guy that just really didn't produce in this series. Also, what do you do with Panarin and Zibanejad? I mean, these guys, unfortunately, are not winning players. They're great players in the regular season, but when it comes down to the playoffs, Panarin did not produce in the playoffs. And this has been a big problem since he left Chicago. When he left Chicago and then he jumped from the Blue Jackets to the Rangers, he's not the same player he was when he was playing with Kane and the talent that he had over there. So I just, Panarin's a guy that I would look, in the offseason maybe to move. You could get a lot back for him. If you have a chance to win next year, or the Rangers are set up to win again next year, the Rangers need to make at least two big moves. One move, they need to find a winger. They need to find a first-line winger that can put the puck in the net. They don't have that right now. It's a big problem. They had a chance. Me and Josh were talking about this too today. They could have brought in Genzel. They did not do that. They didn't want to trade any of their youngsters. I don't
think it had anything to do with what they wanted to trade. It's just at the end of the day, I think Jake Genzel would want to go to Carolina over the Rangers. I don't think Pittsburgh was going to ever trade him to the Rangers if it was going in division.
I think they would have. I know what the Pittsburgh Penguins wanted, and they weren't willing to give one of those guys up, the two youngsters that they have right now in the farm system right now. And that's fine. The Rangers think they think highly of these guys. They also thought highly of Capo Caco, and they've also Lafreniere. Now Lafreniere is developing. He looked really good in the playoffs, back-to-back years. We'll see what he could do back-to-back seasons again next year. He needs to start scoring more goals in the regular season. This is a guy that was the number one pick in the first round. I know he's still young. He's 23 years old, but he needs to score in the regular season. He can't just show up in the playoffs and play well in the playoffs. He needs to show up all season long and do what he is expected to do as a number one pick. Now, if he does that, I think Lafreniere could be, and I know Josh thinks he could be the future captain of this team and this organization, but Capo Caco needs to go. They need to decide what they're doing with some of these youngsters. Are they a fit for this team and this organization moving forward? Or do they look past that and move some of these guys and rebuild through the youngsters that they have in their farm system, which, by the way, the Rangers have a very good farm system. They have 3 good youngsters. They have a defenseman and 2 offensive players that they can bring up in the next 3 years that are really, really good. They also have a very good goaltender in their farm system they can look to move too. So the Rangers have pieces. They have future consideration guys that you can move this offseason to really rebuild this team and make them a contender. I just think that the Rangers were they played a better team. And the Florida Panthers were built to win last year. They were surprised to go to the Stanley Cup. There's no surprise from this team this year. This team was all around the best team in the NHL. When they made that move for Vladimir Tarasenko at the trade deadline, I think it solidified this team and was ready. I thought that this team was built to win this year. And I think they're expected to win the Stanley Cup now that they're facing Edmonton. It all depends on if their goaltending outduels the Edmonton Oilers, but by the way, Skinner was unbelievable in that series against a better goaltender and a better team in the Dallas Stars. I was surprised Edmonton won that series, but again, Connor McDavid and Draisaitl are the 2 best players in the world, and that's why they're in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna go back and for the Rangers. Okay, now I've been seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, should they trade Zibanejad? Should they trade this?"
They got to trade one of them.
They're not going to. I don't think they're going to do that at all. What they should do, I want to bring up their cap situation. They should keep both of them because it's much easier, in my opinion, to get probably not easier, but it's more beneficial for the future to get a center who's very good and put him on the first line and move Mika to the right wing. I think his style of play fits the wing better than center. I don't think how he plays is ideal for a 5-on-5 style of play. I think you get a guy who's a good two-way center, and you put him up there, and I think they're going to be a much, much, much better team. I think that's really what their biggest hole is that they don't have anybody who plays like a true center on their team. They have players who are good and can play center, but they don't have anybody who's a good difference maker at center. And if you watch teams that have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals over the past few years, or teams who've gone to the Cup Finals, they have all had dominant center play. And the New York Rangers have been wing reliant for years. They are not a team that does a good job transitioning through the center. You look at, go back a couple years with Tampa. They were stacked down the middle. You go look at Colorado, they were stacked down the middle. Then last year you had Vegas win the Cup. They added Eichel. They did a great job. They were stacked down the middle also. Now this year you have Edmonton and Florida. Their top two lines, they have Draisaitl and McDavid, and then Florida has Reinhart and Barkov. You look at center play, that is what really decides who wins the Cup this year. Can you control the possession game? You look at that series, and it really started. And I was saying this when they were playing Carolina. They were not doing good in possession. They were getting dominated by Carolina in possession a lot. And, that's how Carolina plays. It's just that Florida does it a lot better. And Florida was able to dominate possession and dominate the transition and dominate the forecheck, and the Rangers could not get anything going. That is why Mika didn't do anything. That's why Panarin didn't really do anything. Because if you don't have the puck, your stars really can't score. And the biggest thing that really drove the New York Rangers this far in the season was their power play. They scored one power play goal the entire Eastern Conference Finals. Florida has a tremendous penalty kill. They'll really be put up to the test in the finals against Edmonton. But at the end of the day, I thought that the Shesterkin did a phenomenal job. The Rangers PK did a phenomenal job, but they just lack what you need down the middle. Hedl was not ready. Hedl looked like he was still out of it. He was still either extremely rusty or something. He did not look like himself. I don't know. I'm really worried about him. I hope he isn't hurt for the long run. Wenberg is not a good player. He should not stay unless they move Goudreau and they bring back Wenberg for a fourth line. He's not good, and he should not be on this team because what he where they would want to play him, he's not good in that role. He's not a good third line center, fourth line center on a good team because he does not do what you need those guys to do very well. He's not a good penalty killer. He's not good defensively. He's a okay to bad third line center on an average team. He's not a good player. There's a reason why he didn't make it on Seattle, who is not a good team. Now, if you go and look, I think that the Rangers' best chances next year to add a center is to buy out Jacob Trouba. That is their only situation that makes sense. The next 2 years, they will have $4 million that they can save on the cap. Then after that, the next few years, they would be losing $2 million, but because of the cap increases that are going to be going on every year, that's going to be a very minimal impact. New York Rangers, I think, have a very good core to build on and be very, very successful. But at the end of the day, they have to it's a copycat league, and they have to copy what wins. And if you're copying good, they have good wingers. I think the Rangers have a very good job. They've always been stacked on the wing. I think moving Mika to the right wing fills a middle six right wing hole for them. And I think adding a good center just gives them a dominant top six and a very good third line. That's really where I would go for the New York Rangers. In free agency, you have Stamkos, but I don't think he's the right fit for the New York Rangers at this point. If I'm the Rangers, I want to go after someone who's in RFA, and I'm going to bring up who will be available.
I hope the Islanders don't go after Steven Stamkos.
No, they're definitely not going to. Position center, RFA. I wouldn't be shocked if New York Rangers went after Nikas from Carolina. He's an RFA this year. They have a lot of guys they need to re-sign. That could be something realistic for the New York Rangers. I think he's only 25, so you look at what he can do in the future. He could be their productive player for the next 10 plus years. 22-23, he had 71 points. 23-24, it did go down a little bit, but he still had similar goal totals. A very good player. What did he do center? You look at what he did. He had a very good Corsi 4 percentage at 5-5, 58.5%. That's very good. That's his face-off stats.
It doesn't matter. I mean, statistically, the Rangers are going to look at guys that they can bring in that's going to fit well with the team and the way Peter Laviolette likes to run his offense and his defense. I think there's a lot of pieces that the Rangers are going to have to look at in the offseason that's going to make this team better. I think if they make one or two moves, the Rangers could be right there, back there next year in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Here's the thing. Now, let's look at, and I don't want to compare them to this but let's compare them to how the Islanders got to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row. They weren't built for that type of play that you need to do down the stretch. And the New York Rangers are built for the regular season, to get to the playoffs and have a dominant regular season. I don't think that's the intent, but that's just how their roster has come together. Now, when you are playing these top teams, like Florida, like Carolina, all these top teams, you have to have more than just special teams. Special teams can make a difference, but if you're not good enough to control possession, if you're not good enough to score and do things 5-on-5, I don't see how you can really beat those teams consistently. I think the Rangers are good enough in a weaker Eastern Conference to get back to the conference finals again next year, but if they still have these same roster issues, I don't see them getting to a cup final. They need to fix their centers, in my opinion. I think the best idea for them is acquiring a young RFA center and moving Mika to the right wing.
So, looking at what we saw, in the playoffs, obviously the Rangers need to clean up certain things. I mean, a lot of these teams need to clean up things. Even the Florida Panthers going into the offseason, I mean, they're ready to win now, but they're going to lose some pieces in the offseason. There are going to be guys that they're probably going to lose to free agency. And, with the way this team is built and the opportunity that they have, this is back-to-back years in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think they're obviously favored to beat the Edmonton Oilers. And congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers, because
I don't necessarily – I think Edmonton's going to win. I think that Edmonton does – and I watched that game against Dallas, and that was a very, 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 very out-of-character game where they – only have 10 shots on goal, and Dallas gets 35. Dallas is a tremendous team. But Edmonton generally does a phenomenal job at controlling possession. And I think it's going to be a very big back-and-forth game. Now, if Florida starts winning that, Stuart Skinner is not good enough to really – if Florida plays like they did against the Rangers and they have that much time and control of the possession and that many chances – Stuart Skinner's not going to be able to stop them. It's going to be 100% Florida. But like I mentioned earlier, the differences between the Rangers and Edmonton is the center depth and the center play that Edmonton gets and the possession that they get, their power play. I think that Edmonton's going to do a very good job. I think it's going to be a very fun Stanley Cup Finals. But I think
it's going to be completely dominated by the Florida Panthers.
I think that the Edmonton Oilers will definitely win.
I think Florida wins in 6. I think they're the better team. I think Florida has earned the right to get back here again this year. I think they've done everything possible in the offseason and at the trade deadline to make this team a contender again. They have the weapons. They're they're very well built defensively. And I'll say this about Edmonton. They're a much better defensive team than they were last year. So That's something that I could say about the Edmonton Oilers, that they really did very, very well in the offseason and really rebuilt this defense to a style that is going to help them with bad goaltending. And Skinner, I don't trust Skinner. I don't care what he did against the Dallas Stars and how well he played. He played very well against Dallas. There's no question that he did.
See, here's the thing about the NHL today. And you hear people say, oh, you need goaltending to win a cup. No, it's not the 80s or the 90s when there were 6 goals a game. It's not like that. You don't know. You look back at the goaltenders of the past few years that won a cup. You had Colorado, who had poor goaltending, under 900 save percentage. Then last year you had Golden Knights. They don't even have a consistent goalie. I think who ended up winning the cup.
And Hill was the best goalie in the playoffs last year. Him and Bobrovsky were the best goalies in the playoffs. As a matter of fact, Hill outplayed Bobrovsky last year. Hill was fantastic in the playoffs. He got hot. I think Hill had like 4 shutouts in the playoffs. It was unbelievable last year. That's why they won. I mean, yes, the Vegas Knights were stacked. And everybody thought the Vegas Knights were stacked this year with the moves that they made at the trade deadline and then obviously the addition of their captain before the playoffs started. But they met up against a very good.
Okay, hold on. Here you go. Aiden Hill last year in the regular season had average year, 915, 245. That's
I'm
average.
not sure. First of all, I'm talking
Yes, I'm just saying in general. They don't have they got
talking about the playoffs.
Yes, I know. But then you look at this year at Stuart Skinner taking them Edmonton Oilers to the Cup. You don't need dominant goaltending anymore. It's not like that. It's not how the game works. If the game today is about possession, and if you can have possession, you can get away with having.
Why did Florida make the? Why did the Florida Panthers make it to the finals last year?
A big piece of that was Bobrovsky, 100%.
Okay.
But hold on. I said to win a cup, you don't need goaltending anymore.
I disagree. You need good goaltending.
You don't. You just need someone who's not going to hurt you. That's what Stuart Skinner. That's what Stuart Skinner is doing. He has an under 900 save percentage. That's what Darcy Kemper did for Colorado.
Kemper was pretty good for Colorado.
He had under 900 save percentage that year.
Yeah, but I understand
he was not great. He honestly, if he was on any other team, he probably wouldn't have made it that many games in the playoffs because he was not good.
If you look at the last 10 Stanley Cups that are won, I bet you 7 out of 10 of them had great goaltending. 7 out of 10 of them had great goaltending. And Hill played fantastic last year.
Darcy Kemper did not do well that year.
All right, so take Kemper out. Hill did. Hill played great. Hill was unbelievable in the playoffs. So that was one. This year, I'm going to tell you this right now. Bobrovsky and Skinner did not play well in that series, but Bobrovsky did enough.
No, I agree with that. Well, the difference was that they had the possession and they were able to get away with it.
Watch Bobrovsky in this series. I believe he's going to show up in this series. I believe he will show up in this series and play very, very well.
It depends. I think if he played like how he did against the Rangers, I think Edmonton will have an easy time. I'm not if I'm an Oilers fan, I'm not that worried about Bobrovsky. I'm more worried about us not being able to get consistent offensive zone time. That's what I would be more worried about. I would be more worried about not being able to get consistently enough of those chances. I would be worried that Stuart Skinner is not going to be able to stop the rush of Florida. That's more of a worry to me if I'm an Oilers fan than beating Bobrovsky.
I think that if you look at where the Florida Panthers are and the way they're built, I think they're built to win this series. I think they're built on all 4 lines. Yes, the 2 best players in this series are on the Edmonton Oilers. There's no question. Draisaitl and McDavid are the 2 best players in the world. I don't care what anybody says. You can't even argue that. Matthew Tkachuk is nowhere close to these 2 guys. Either is Barkov. None of these guys are anywhere close to these 2 players. But all around talent, I think the Florida Panthers are better. And I think the Florida Panthers are built to win the Stanley Cup this year, and I think they're destined to win their first Stanley Cup of their existence. So I'm rooting for the Florida Panthers. I love everything that I've seen so far in the playoffs, and they beat the better team. I don't care what anybody says. The Rangers were the better team. Dallas, they were the best of the West. The Rangers were the best of the East. But who was the best team in the NHL throughout this season? It was the Rangers. So, and they beat the better goalie too, because I think Shesterkin was the better goalie. So
I think he's the better goalie 100%, but I think the better team is Florida.
I think Florida is the better team. I think Florida's the better team.
Because if you look at what I think there were a few teams that were actually better than the New York Rangers. I think you can make an argument that Winnipeg, Colorado, and Dallas and Florida were all better than the New York Rangers, even in the regular season. You look at who they had to compete with in their division. I think and Boston all better. You look at the Metro, they really didn't have anybody. Carolina started getting hot after the trade deadline when they got Jake Gensel. But for a big part of that year, the New York Rangers were well ahead. Okay, how far back do you want to go on this?
We don't have to go back.
On the Stanley Cup, goalies of the past for Stanley Cup champions.
Oh, 10 years.
Okay. So it's Vegas, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have Lightning with back to back. Then they had the Blues with Bennington,
who was unbelievable. I was there. I was there at the Stanley Cup Finals. I was on the ice when Bennington made those unbelievable saves. Bennington was as good as
not a great goalie. He
isn't. But in the playoffs, he was unbelievable. He was the reason why St. Louis won the Stanley Cup. He was why they won the Stanley Cup and beat Boston. Boston was the better team. But what Pennington did in that series,
he had a 914 save percentage that year.
Dude, he was unbelievable in the playoffs. I was there. I watched everything. I was up close and personal. I was on the ice when they hoisted the cup. He was unbelievable.
You go look at the goalies that are the big. Actually, I think the goalies that are getting have the biggest contracts in the NHL. I think if the Florida Panthers win the cup, if I believe my stats are correct, Bobrovsky would be the first one with a massive contract like that to win a cup.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying about how much they're making or what they did in their careers. I'm saying that during the playoffs, those guys were unbelievable. Go ahead.
You just need somebody to.
Bennington was unbelievable. Vasilevsky was unbelievable. Those Stanley Cups. Hill was great. So that's 4 Stanley Cups that you need a great goaltender. Go ahead, give me another one. Who's the other one after St. Louis?
Find that at page again. Washington.
Washington did. I think they had good goaltending that year. I think they did. I think he won the Vezina Trophy that year, didn't he? I think he was the best goalie in the league that year when they won the Stanley Cup. He was a top 3. Who was their goaltender that year? It was with the H.
Yeah, I know. I'm it's like stuck on tip of my tongue.
I think he plays for Vancouver now. I think he plays for Vancouver now.
Holtby,
that's right.
Definitely not one of the best goalies in that year.
What was his numbers in the playoffs?
I'm trying to find it.
I think he was pretty good in the playoffs. I want to get into the basketball, but
he wasn't bad. He had 14 quality starts. That's pretty good.
All right, so give us. All right, so that's the Capitals. Who's the other?
When you have the back-to-back with the Penguins, when you had Matt Murray and Fleury.
All right, so Fleury was fantastic, and so was
Murray played one of the. No, that was okay. That was the That was what happened was, in 2016 Murray was the starter.
Mm-hmm. No, Murray won both those Stanley Cups.
Yes, but in 2016, I was looking at it before. Murray only played 11 games the second year. And if I remember correctly, they pulled him and put Fleury in.
Well, whatever. They got good goaltending, and that was one of the big reasons why they won. Goaltending was a big factor for them to win the Stanley Cup too. I mean, you need good goaltending. I mean, once in a blue moon, you'll find a team that you're just so much better than the other team. But I mean, you need good goaltending to win a Stanley Cup, and I disagree with you. I think 7 out of the last 10 championships, you needed top-end goaltending. And even though they're not considered the top 5 goalies in the league, in the playoffs, they were as good as anybody. So I think that's where we're at right there. I mean, at least that's what I think.
So in 15-16, Fleury only played 2 games. That was their first of the back-to-back cups. He did not do very good at all.
No.
And then they put in Murray, and then next year it looks like Murray started to shit the bed, and they switched. Or he got hurt. He might have gotten hurt. That might have been what happened.
Yeah. Well,
one of the two happened, but I know for a fact they put Fleury in.
They needed good goaltender and get good goaltending in the finals, and they got it from either or. They both showed up. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is going to go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, this guy's one of the best players of the last 20 years. I mean, the guy, he's gone to different team after different team and shown up and has really shown up to win. So, I mean, the guy is a
He was the second goalie ever drafted first overall.
Yep. He's a fantastic goaltender. And he's going to go
You know who the first one was?
Yeah, Rick DiPietro, who I can't stand as a person and as a player.
Why as a person?
We never got along.
What do you mean we never got along?
We played USA hockey against one another. We played years and years of hockey against one another. I can't believe you don't know these stories.
No, I don't.
I never got along with him. We've had a scruffle quite a few times on the ice. And the last year when the Islanders went to they beat the Washington Capitals in the first round with John Tavares, if you remember. He was doing the analyst work during the playoffs. I was there, and he saw me and we locked eyes and we got into a yelling matchup. I got kicked out of the Brooklyn UBS, not the UBS, Brooklyn Arena, Barclays Center. So that's a true story, by the way. Anyways, so yeah. I'm not a big Rick DiPietro fan. I'm not. But I have to give him a lot of credit. His show is fantastic on ESPN.
Whenever I've met him, he has been absolutely fantastic of a person.
I'm sorry?
Whenever I have met him and had interaction with him, he's been great.
All you got to do is see when he sees me, you'll see what happens. You won't think he's a good person after he sees me. So
let's find the next time they're doing a live studio show.
Oh, you want us to get into a fight?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a little video with me and I'll record it. And
what would be the point of me beating up Rick DiPietro? What, you want to see me go to jail? Is that what you want?
No. You don't even have to touch him. Just let his knees buckle and then you'll be good.
Oh, he's let his knees buckle. I don't think letting his knees buckle will answer the questions of what I really feel about the guy. So, but I have to give him credit. He's done very, very well as an analyst. Congratulations to him. He's doing well on ESPN. His show is, I think, the best show that ESPN has, ESPN New York. So, and that has a lot to do with his partner, but he's been good. He out of all the guys that are ex-athletes that try to do broadcasting, start to do radio, he's been a guy that I respect because he's actually studying all different sports. He's not just concentrating on hockey. He's concentrated on basketball, football, baseball.
I will agree. That's definitely an issue. Like, you could tell sometimes when you're watching some radio show with a former athlete, and you can tell he's just BSing it for a sport or something, or he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
He does. He watches.
Yeah, he's good.
He even watches tennis, and I give him a lot of credit because I've been very impressed with his growth as a radio guy. So even though I can't stand the SOP, I'll give him credit when credit is deserved. So I think he's much better broadcaster than he was of a hockey player. No question. Okay. So he's not going to go to the Hall of Fame as a hockey player, but he'll go into the Hall of Fame for stealing more money from the Islanders than any single goaltender or any single player.
Hey, that's a great way to make a living, by getting a big contract and then just getting injured and can never be able to fulfill it, and they have to pay you out forever. Come on, I do that in a heartbeat.
Well, ask Bobby Bonilla. It's worked out for him. So to get back into the NBA, which we haven't gotten into. So, I mean, this is going to be a fun series. Obviously, Dallas doing what they did against the Timberwolves. Everybody, including yours truly, thinking that they were going to run all over Dallas. Well, Luka Doncic proved to everybody why he should have been the MVP this year. He's been as good as any player in the NBA throughout the season. He's averaging a triple-double throughout the playoffs. The guy's been amazing. And And Kyrie Irving, who I think is just one of the dumbest people you'll ever meet in person because of the stupid things that come out of his mouth, the anti-Semitic views, and obviously thinking the earth is flat, because I think his brain is just absolutely bonkers on some of the stupid things that have come out of his mouth.
It's just smooth brain.
But the guy's a fantastic NBA playoff player. He really is. And he's one of the main reasons why this team has moved on. The acquisitions that they made in Washington and the talent that they've had, Gafford, who's come off the bench and done wonders for them, the size, outplaying obviously what we saw in the series against the Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Both guys were outplayed by both big guys. And I'll say this about the Dallas Mavericks. Nobody expected this. Nobody except them. And that's what makes them dangerous in this series, because everybody thinks Boston's going to run all over them with the talent that they have, with Porzingis coming back and the size. And what's crazy about this is Porzingis. Dallas is Porzingis' old team, and Kyrie's old team is the Boston Celtics. Both organizations did not like both players. So the Dallas fans couldn't stand Porzingis, and Luka and him were really, really close. And then they had a fallout at the last season, and then they traded Porzingis to Washington. And Kyrie Irving, we all know what the fans kind of
They love him over there in Boston.
Oh,
they love him.
They
it was
can't
sarcasm. Sarcasm, my
and
friend.
I think tonight's the first game of the series.
Who do you think's going to win?
I want to see Dallas win.
I do too.
I want to see Dallas win. I want to see Luka Doncic. I love Luka. I think Luka deserves a lot of credit for the growth of this team. Mark Cuban has a lot of credit. You have to give Mark Cuban a lot of credit too. He sold the team in the beginning of the season. Made his billion. I think he made $4 billion off the sale of the team. But he's still the president of player personnel over there. He is running that team and that organization still. And the way he has really run this team, he's run this team not as a businessman, but he's run this team as a smart, educated basketball guy. And I love what he has done, putting this team together and making this team as depthful as we've ever seen this team. This team didn't have the depth when they went to the Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson. They didn't have the depth. Now with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, they rebuilt this team very quickly, very, very smart. And now that this team is built to win, I think they match up very evenly against the Boston Celtics, because I don't trust Jaylen Brown in a big game. I don't just trust Jason Tatum in a big game. These are two guys, Jaylen Brown, who just got $400 million in the offseason. Jason Tatum, who wants to be the highest paid player in the NBA, who wants about $550 million at the end of this season. And Porzingis, who I just think is not 100% healthy. He's coming back in a series. I think that the fans are going to be on him. If he does not play well, even the Boston fans will be on him. And Jrue Holiday is a shell of himself. He's not the same player he was when he was over there in Milwaukee. And he signed the 4-year extension this past year after the trade deadline, which I thought at the time was a good move by the Boston Celtics. But now you see the growth of what White has become. White has been one of the better defensive players in the league. He's become a pretty good two-way player. A great find by Brad Stevens. I just think that this team, there's some questions on the size of this team. Yeah, if you lose Porzingis again, you have old man Al Horford. I don't trust Al Horford. If you could, pay him an extra $200 million, I wouldn't trust him in this series against a better, bigger, stronger Dallas Mavericks team. And again, the size advantage at the point guard position. Luka is the point guard. Okay, he's 6'10". The point guard over there is Jrue Holiday. How is Jrue going to defend him at the point? If he's going to move, he's going to be able to run the pick and roll. Now, Jrue Holiday is a sensational. So is White. Sensational defensive players. They're not going to be able to stop Luka. They're not. You saw what he did against the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves had answers to defend him, but they couldn't defend him. He was running the pick and roll at the top of the key. He was hitting them. He was hitting all his shots, and he's very hard to defend when he gets into the paint because of his size and his aggressiveness and his athletic ability to get to the hole. And he can go left and right. It's going to be – and by the way, Kyrie Irving is just impossible to defend. Impossible. So I just think that there's an advantage in this series for Dallas. And if Dallas wins game 1, and I'm going to tell you this right now, Boston did not look good at home against a weak Cavaliers team that had a lot of missing pieces. They did not look good at home against a team that they obviously, the Indiana Pacers, that Hal Burton was out for like 3 of the games in this series or 2 of the games in this series. And Hal Burton and this team was a young team and a growing team. It would have been much better to see the Knicks play them because I think the Knicks matched up very well against the Boston Celtics than the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers are going to be a good future team. I think they're very well built, and I think they're very well coached. And Rick Carlisle, I just think that there's a lot of thought to how they were matched up against the Celtics, and they didn't have that number 2 guy.
See, my problem with Indiana is that there's going to be a point where they got to keep their guys. And unfortunately, they play in Indiana. And
the only star they have is Hal Burton.
Yes, and if they lose him, what else do they have? Nothing.
They're not going to lose him.
But here's the thing: he gets it when he has to resign his contract.
He will,
and his contract comes up. But who are you going to want to go play for? A massive team that can afford you and be a contender, or stay on your team, be a contender, but you play in Indiana.
Indiana's a very good basketball city,
but it's in the middle of nowhere. Who wants to be in Indiana?
They sell out all their games.
But they're in the middle of nowhere.
It doesn't matter. They're big basketball fans. Hoosier fans. That's basketball country right there. More than football.
I would never want to stay in Indiana. That's in the middle of nowhere.
First of all, Larry Bird's from Indiana. Okay, and their basketball, that's basketball royalty. That place is always packed. I don't know about you. I don't know how many Indiana Pacer games did you watch this year. They sell out almost every game.
Oh, no, I know that, and I fully believe it. But what are you going to do if you're not playing basketball?
Well, Caitlin Clark's in Indiana, and she's selling out Indiana games.
And she's probably going to go to New York when it's time.
No, she's not. She's going to stay in Indiana. She's going to be face of the Indiana team. And so is Hal Burton. He's not going anywhere. He is going nowhere.
Why would you stay in the middle? I don't know. I don't know why you would stay there and sell out games when you could go to another really, really good team, a team that has a
Indiana's not going to be a really, really good team. They're built
I meant historically.
Historically, this is a team that had a very good team in the 90s. They had Reggie
30
Miller
years ago.
and Rick Smits, and they had players. They had a good.
What they win from that?
They had to play the Bulls. They had to play Michael Jordan.
Exactly. Wouldn't you rather go play?
They had to play the New York Knicks and Patrick.
Wouldn't you rather go play for the Bulls with those type of guys if they can afford you, or go stay for the Pacers and continue losing?
No, because I want to be a star and I want to win in a team where I'm the guy. I want to win because I'm the guy.
So you'd rather retire with no rings than go and
Reggie Miller did.
And still get a max contract.
Reggie Miller
did. All the money in the world. But you know what? Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and he won a couple of rings like that. And that's a smart move.
Will Chamberlain, okay? How many championships did he have?
I have no idea. 2. Whoop-de-doo. You know what? That's more than Reggie Miller.
And how many championships did he win with the 76ers?
2? 1. Oh, cool.
Okay. The difference is he won his second championship with the Lakers. It wasn't.
But here's my question. But here's the thing. He won something there. The Sixers are a much bigger name team.
No, they weren't. Indiana's much bigger. Indiana
if a world-recognized team, or even in America, to casual fans, they know the 76ers more than the Pacers. 1,000%. What would you rather be? Kevin Durant going, getting max contracts and winning your rings? Or would you rather be Reggie Miller staying there and winning nothing? So Kevin Durant could have went and stayed in OKC and then continued to lose to LeBron or the Warriors every single year. But he didn't. He went and got his max contracts, and he went and he won rings. What would you rather do? Honestly. That's what everyone dreams about, winning a championship in the sports they play. They don't dream about being the guy and winning nothing. If you have an opportunity to go play for one of those teams that's going to be a historic team through free agency and win rings, you're going to take that.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Halliburton's going nowhere. He's signing with them. There's no way he's leaving. There's no way he's leaving.
I think whenever he has a chance to, he will.
No way. Wilt Chamberlain won 2 championships, and at the tail end of his Philadelphia 76ers career, he won one in 1967. And then in 1972, he had to go to another team to win his other championship, a very good Lakers team in 1972. And he was really outplayed by Bill Russell because the Celtics were just built to win. They were a great defensive team, and Bill Russell was the only decently sized guy that could defend Wilt Chamberlain. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Halliburton's staying there, but going back
after his current contract is over, I think he's gone.
I'll put money on it. He won't leave.
I don't think you'll remember it by the time that his contract.
I'll put money on it. He will not leave.
Sure.
He will not leave the Pacers. He will not.
Does he have any opt-outs?
It doesn't matter. He's not leaving the Pacers. He can opt out all he wants. He's not leaving the Pacers.
I'm just saying, why would you want to stay and win?
Because he could. He's the number one guy, and the
Pacers. But he
Pacers
could make more money. And
Pacers are a good team. They're a good organization. They know how to win. Maybe they haven't won.
When was the last time they won?
It doesn't matter. Winning championships.
Then how do they know how to win?
And I'm gonna because they do know how to win. They're a very good organization.
Then when was the last time they won a ring?
Again, I can't pick it out of my hat. It doesn't really matter. Reggie Miller was a very good player. He just played in a decade. And by the way, who's the big superstar now in the Eastern Conference? There are none.
No,
there are
none. The Eastern Conference is very weak.
Well, the Eastern Conference is not very weak, but there's no big-time superstar like a LeBron James
I think that
and a Michael Jordan that's going to dominate.
I think if you compare East to the West is just so much more.
So why would he leave? Why would he leave when the Eastern Conference is so open to win? Why would he leave?
Here's the thing. Okay, now say that Boston is like, hypothetically speaking, in like 5 years, they're this team that's a monster giant. They just won 2 championship rings, and they
lucky they win 1 in the next 5 years.
They can add another. It's hypothetical, okay? Hypothetical, and they can add another max contract.
This is the best chance.
Why would he say no to go there?
Because he's not going there.
But it's hypothetical. Would you rather have to go through them
I'll
or
tell
go
you
part of them?
Like, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. When's Halliburton's contract up?
4 more years.
4 more years. Okay.
He'll be 28.
How old is Halliburton right now?
24. He'll be 28.
Okay, he'll be 28 years old. I'm going to bet you that in the next 3 years, he's going to renegotiate his contract, and he's going to have one of the biggest contracts in NBA history for a point guard. He's going to make like $500-600 million from the Indiana Pacers. Okay, if he leaves, if he gets traded, I will go into Miller's Ale House in my boxer briefs, okay, and a T-shirt and sneakers, and eat dinner in front of everybody. My boxer briefs.
You have to eat dinner standing up.
Standing up. Fine. I'll eat dinner standing up in my boxer briefs. But if he signs with Indiana, okay? If he signs with Indiana, you, my friend, have to do the same damn thing. Okay? In a T-shirt, and a wife beater, okay? And your boxer briefs and shoes.
I'm not getting arrested for that, by the way.
No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. As long as you're covering your private areas, you can do that. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Excuse my language, but you can.
And they can kick me out.
And they can, but they won't because, people just look at you and laugh at you. I have no shame of it. I'll do it. So if that happens, but I'm going to remember this bet, and you're going to have to do it.
You'll remember it unless he gets traded or moved.
He's not getting traded, and he's not getting moved. He's going to be an Indiana Pacer for the rest of his career, 100%.
I feel bad for him because he's a great player, and I want to see him win.
He can win in Indiana. The Eastern Conference is weak. I mean, Joel Embiid is on his last knee.
But here's the thing. That team needs to add more, and they have to then get through Boston.
Dude, all they need, first of all, Boston is really not the beast of the East as much as you think.
Now they are.
Oh yeah, they beat an Indiana team. If they played the Knicks at full strength, they probably lose. Okay, they wouldn't have beaten the Knicks if the Knicks had Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson and all the players that they had in the beat. They don't beat the Knicks. The Knicks beat them in 6. They're not better than the Knicks, and I'm not saying
that
would
have been a fun series, but
I'm not saying because I'm a Knicks fan. They wouldn't have beaten the Knicks at full strength. Them full strength and the Knicks full strength. The Knicks beat them. The Knicks were 3-1 against them. And by the way, out of the 3 games that they won, 2 out of the 3 games they were at full strength, and the Knicks weren't, and the Knicks still beat them. Okay, so and that's the regular season. It's the playoffs, but Boston didn't look good in the playoffs. They really didn't. They did not look good.
They haven't looked as good.
They got lucky against the Cavaliers because Donovan Mitchell was hurt, and Jared Allen were hurt. They didn't even play the last two games of that series. Actually, 3. Donovan Mitchell missed 3 of that series, and they barely won those games against secondary players. They had Darius Garland fucking shoot all over them. Okay, I'm just speaking the truth. I don't think the Boston Celtics are as good as everybody thinks they are, and I'm going to tell you this right now. They play like that.
I don't disagree with you, but I think that's because people look at their record and look at what they've been doing, and they think that they're so good. But like, if you take Dallas and they started this entire year in the East, I think they're just as good as Boston in the standings or even above them. Because you look at who Dallas had to play against that entire year, they're playing way better teams than Boston had to play.
Well, I think the Western Conference is very top heavy, and so the Eastern Conference.
But you know what? Those teams have to play each other.
Yeah.
Boston, the other teams that in the top of Eastern Conference, I don't think are close to as good as the other teams in the top of the Western Conference.
Well, I mean, Milwaukee, I expected more from Milwaukee this year. Dame is obviously, he didn't want to be there. And I think Dame's going to Miami. I think Jimmy Butler will be on his way out. I could see him going to the 76ers. I think you're going to see a lot of jumps in the offseason. I think the Knicks are going to make a move this offseason to make their team better. I expect a lot of different things to happen this offseason where teams are going to believe that they're going to be a better team than they were this year. So it'll be very, very interesting. To finish up with the Yankees and the Mets, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Mets. All right, I have no idea.
The Mets are deciding to be the Mets way earlier than they needed to be.
I think that the Mets are in a lot of trouble. That's what I think. And I know that, I was talking to Josh, and he's a diehard Met fan, and he says, give David Stearns time to build this team. He's got 3 years. Met fans will not let him last over 3 years. I don't care if he signed a 6-year deal with Steve Cohen. If this team spends money this offseason and they still can't get over the hump, and they're going to be spending money back to back years, and they still can't win, I'm going to tell you this right now. David Stearns is going to be numero uno, number 1 out, because there's no way Steve Cohen. I told this to Josh. When you're here in New York, this isn't Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You need to win. You need to find a way to win. So if he doesn't find a way to win in 3 years, the Met fans are going to be killing him. Killing him.
Here's the thing with the Mets, I think they knew going into this year that once the guys that they wanted in the offseason didn't go to the Mets, Otani and the other pitcher from Japan. Yes, I didn't want to butcher his name. I think they decided to kind of throw it in, save their money, and go after big guys this offseason. Now, do
you really think Soto's going to want to go and play in that debacle when he can stay in New York with the Yankees?
Well, he wanted to stay in Washington.
I'm just telling. That's different. Washington was an organization that he knew was going to fall apart. They always
no. He wanted to stay there.
Yeah, did he?
He has said even after he got traded, he wanted to stay in Washington.
Don't believe that.
I 100% believe him.
He wanted to be in a big city. He never wanted to be.
I don't know why I believe him. Because he came to the team at age 16. He essentially became a man there. And so it's different. Now, if it was a situation was flipped and he came to the Mets at age 16, I would say it's understandable if he wanted to stay there and not go to the Nationals. I would say the same exact thing you're saying right now. But I think, now I'm going to say it right now, I said it before on the show, I think he's going to the Giants, going to go to San Francisco. They've gone after big guns multiple years in a row, and they have failed. They went after Judge. They threw the money at him. Nothing happened. They offered the
Soto wants to win championships. Soto wants
they
to
offered the same exact contract.
Soto want. I understand what you're going to say, but here's the thing.
They offered the same contract to Ohtani that the Dodgers offered. I think they are going to go after Soto hard, and I do think he's going to go there.
I disagree. I think he, and I'm not saying this.
They also tried to get Harper.
I'm not
trying for a long time.
I'm not going to say this because I'm a Yankee fan. I'm just telling you the truth. It's either Philadelphia or the Yankees. I think I think he looks at Philadelphia because of Bryce Harper and Trey Turner being there. Those are two very close guys, friends of his. He grew up with both of those guys. He loves both of those guys. They're very close. I could see him going to Philadelphia, but if it's not Philadelphia, I cannot see him leaving the New York Yankees. He has a chance.
I would rather him stay with the Yankees than see Philly. I would probably kill him.
Yeah, when you look at his numbers right now, he's had his best season in that short porch and the opportunity to hit 50 home runs a season, and he could go down as a god in New York. He has a chance to be the it factor for the next 7-8 years for the Yankees winning a championship. Why would he want to leave this? He has a chance. The Yankees will give him between $500 and $600 million.
Do you think they'll fork that over?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
How are they making room for that much money?
How are they going to make it? It's the Yankees. But
they haven't been that. It's the Yankees since George died.
I understand that, but I think when you have a chance to have a player like this is a guy that's a top 5 player. You have 2 top 5 players in your lineup. You have Soto and Aaron Judge. These 2 guys are the two top 5 players in the league. And you have a chance to have these guys back to back for at least the next 3 to 4 years at the top of their games. I mean, where do you have to sign? I think Garrett Cole is going to opt out of his contract. I don't think the Yankees are going to extend him. I don't. I think the Yankees will let him go.
But Stanton is still going to be on that team after this year.
So what? And Stanton has 2 more years left.
But then they have to pay them both for 2 more years.
Stanton has 2 more years left on that contract. And after this next year, they have him 1 year. It's a tradable contract. I could see the Yankees trading him to the Dodgers, trading him to the Padres. He wants to go to LA. I think Giancarlo Stanton will take that move or accept that move to go to maybe even San Francisco. If they strike out on Soto, I could see the Yankees trading Giancarlo Stanton, a power hitter, over there to the Giants. I think the Giants could use a power hitter like that. Did you see what Giancarlo Stanton hit over there this past week against the Giants? That 476 foot home run. I mean, Giancarlo still can hit home runs. He hits bombs.
Yeah, but his problem is he's very hot cold.
Yeah, but he's still going to give you 40 home runs when healthy.
But you know what? 39 of them are going to be in the second half of the year.
I don't think
so. And when you're not getting 100%, that's how he's been his whole career.
I think
100% been like that his entire career, where every year, majority of his production is in one half of the year. Sometimes before the All-Star break, sometimes after. But majority of his production is always in one chunk of the year.
Giancarlo right now, in 199 at-bats, these are really good numbers for a guy like him. His career is a 258 hitter. He's batting 231. He's got 32 RBIs, 24 runs, 14 home runs, and 46 hits out of 199 at-bats. That's pretty damn good for Giancarlo Stanton. And he's on track to hit 40 home runs this year and give you over 110.
But he's going to have most of them in the first half of the year. That's what he's going to do. He's going to probably get 30 of them in the first half of the year.
I disagree. I think if he stays healthy, he's going to hit 40 home runs, 45 home runs. He has got a chance he's got a chance this year with this lineup and him being protected because nobody wants to pitch to Soto or Judge, that he's going to get the bulk of the easy swings. And I think he's going to benefit. I think he's going to benefit.
His splits. Hold on. Can I find it? Batting splits career.
What is his contract? I think he has 2 years left. See, Giancarlo Stanton.
Let me just look at last year,
so he's got 3 years left.
Yes,
he's got 3 years left on his contract. That too. 3.
Okay, so last year he had 15 of his home runs in the second half.
He wasn't healthy last year. He hasn't been healthy for the last 2 years. But this year he's been healthy.
Let's go to 2021 then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you said he wasn't. Okay. He hit 20 in one half. In 2021 second half, 15 in the first. The year before.
I think Giancarlo
was a short year, so I might not count that one.
Giancarlo Stanton's going to have a good year. He has already 14 home runs.
He'll probably have normal stats that when you break it down.
Almost stats, 40 home runs and 115 RBIs in a lineup that is going to have like 3 guys with over 40 home runs and 100 and something RBIs. I mean, how many teams right now in the majors are going to do that? Maybe the Dodgers, maybe with Friedman. What is Friedman doing right now? I mean, Friedman.
And then what year is this?
It doesn't matter.
The year I'm looking at is 2018 now. He had 23 in the first, 15 in the second, and hit 250 in the second half and hit 278 in the first half. 2017.
Freddie Freeman.
I think this was his last year on Miami.
Let me see. Freddie Freeman has 7 home runs. He's not. Freddie Freeman is not even going to have 30 home runs this year. He's not even going to have 30 home runs this year.
Freeman? You think so?
Yeah. He has 35 RBIs and he's batting 293, but he has 7 home runs at 222
at bats. How many games?
222 at bats.
But how many games?
I don't know. I think he's been healthy. He's been fair. It doesn't say the games. It just shows you at bats. He's had more at bats than Giancarlo Stanton, and he only has 7 home runs. Freddie Freeman's not hitting 40 home runs this year. There's no way. No way. He's on track to maybe 30. Maybe 30. I think his power numbers are going to be. I think it's disintegrating. He's 34 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. But
but Giancarlo Stanton.
Usually it's the bat speed that goes first, not the power. Which his bat speed and his average has been pretty consistent. 7 home runs. He hasn't hit 30 home runs since 2021.
I know, and that's why the Yankees are going to be the only. Mookie Betts doesn't have a lot of home runs either. At 239 at bats, 9 home runs.
Dodger Stadium's not a hitter-friendly park.
I'm just saying, the Yankees are going to be the only team that's going to have 3 players with 40 or more home runs and 100 and something.
I think having 29 home runs. Actually, Mookie Betts last year had 39. The year before they had 35.
Yeah, he's not going to have that this year.
He has 9 so far.
Yes.
Batting .318.
Yes, he's a great hitter.
Oh yeah,
he's a great hitter. He's a great contact hitter, Mookie Betts, and he's still fairly young. Mookie Betts has a chance.
And Ohtani's 100% going to hit 30.
Oh yes, Ohtani's going to hit 50. Ohtani's going to hit 50. Maybe more than that.
No pitching.
Ohtani.
Yes, he had Tommy John, right? So he's not pitching.
No, he can't pitch.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so with the Mets, getting back to the Mets, and Shohei Ohtani right now has. I'm trying to find out. It doesn't show his hitting. I don't know why it doesn't. It just shows you his wins. I want to see his stats for hitting. Anyways, the Mets are in a lot of trouble. Jorge Lopez doing what he did, calling.
I'm going to go get a Jorge Lopez T-shirt.
I think there's they're in a lot of trouble right now. I think David Stearns is going to have to figure out how to rebuild this team a lot quicker, a lot sooner than everybody expects. They have a good farm system. The farm system was ranked 13th. I was talking to Josh about that. The Yankees are actually ranked 11th. The Yankees jumped from last year from 22nd to 11th. Obviously, this kid Jones is the real Spencer Jones. Is a guy that the Yankees really like. He showed very, very good promise in AAA. And the Mets have some good pieces. The Acuna kid looks like he's going to be a pretty good player. We'll see if he can hit in the majors. But right now, he's hitting like 340 or 350 right now in the AAA, and they have some good youngsters. They're going to have to show up and play in the majors. The Mets for years have had these guys, and they come into the major leagues and they're good for a little bit, and then they suck. So we have to see what these guys are going to turn out to be. But you can't trust prospects until you see them.
No, you can't.
So same thing with Spencer Jones until he comes to the majors, and we see some people say he's another Aaron Judge. We'll see if he can. He has a pretty good size. He's a big guy, 6'5", power on both sides of the plate. So I'm interested to see what he can do, and he's a very good defensive player in the outfield. So we'll see what he can turn into. But the Mets are in a lot of trouble, guys. And if you're a Met fan, you're going to see a lot of at least 2 years of rickety basketball, rickety baseball. Okay, it's not going to be a really fun team to watch. You're going to get tickets for like $15. You're going to get you if you want to go to a Met game, this is the time to go to a Met game where you can get nice ground level seats to watch the Mets play, because nobody.
I like it because when I get to go see my shitty team play the Mets, I get it for cheap. I don't have to pay $70 for a mediocre seat to go see my team get spanked.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys, the Nationals got some pieces, man.
They're looking like they could compete. Right now when
2 years.
James Wood comes up, I think it'll get a lot better.
2 years, 2020.
James Wood is in AAA, and he was hitting like 340 down there. He should come up. He should have been up already. He's an insane stud of a prospect. He's been lighting it up down there. That he had a hamstring injury that he went on the DL for, but I think once he comes back from that, he'll be coming right back. I think he'll be up soon after that.
And as far as the Yankees are concerned, I mean, there's really nothing bad to say. I told all Yankee fans, stop crapping on Carlos Rodon, and you see what he's doing right now.
But I want to give a little bit of credit to the Nationals pitching staff. The Nationals pitching staff. I want to read off.
Credit for them. I mean, the Yankees have the number one pitching staff in baseball.
The Nationals starting. So I'm just talking about starting pitching. Let me find out. Get their exact numbers. Okay, pitching. Okay, so right now you have Trevor Williams, who has a 2.22 ERA. They have Mackenzie Gore, 2.91 ERA. They have Mitchell Parker, has a 3.6 ERA. Then they have, where are you? Jake Irvin, who has a 3.39 ERA.
Then
you have dumb fuck Corbin, who has like a 5.5 ERA. He can go take a giant 12-inch long giant cock up his ass for all I care.
There you go. I mean, if you want to show him how to do it, you can.
I don't know how to do that, but I know he's a Trump supporter, so he probably has that happen a lot with that from Donald Trump. So actually, Donald Trump was like pinky little bit.
Oh, a liberal. Oh, I like it. Anyways, I don't want to talk about politics. There's no reason for it. But Carlos Rodon is having a sensational year. For all the Yankee fans that want to put this guy down and say he sucks. Well, Josh, eat your heart out. 7-2, 3.09 ERA, whip at 1.13, strikeout 62, innings pitched 67. He's right now an all-star. He's one of the better pitchers right now in the American League. So I told you, Yankee fans, stop shit. This guy had a bad shoulder last year. He came to the Yankees. He needed a full season to recuperate, and now you're seeing what he could be. This guy has been everything to the Yankees. Now you have Garrett Cole coming back. This Yankee team has the best ERA, best win percentage, best whip in the majors. This team has the best pitching staff in baseball. So it says a lot about what this team has. And congratulations, and I'm going to give this and I'm going to say this very, very nicely because the management of you know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, right?
The New York Mets.
No, I'm talking about the Yankees.
Oh, so you were shitting on management. I assumed it's the Mets.
No, I'm talking about the Yankees. Who's the Yankees manager?
Brian Cashman.
Who's the Yankees manager?
Oh, manager. So it's management. Baron Boone.
Aaron Boone.
Yes.
And right now, Aaron Boone is the manager of the year. This team is playing as good a baseball as any team. And everybody, all the Yankee fans saying, oh, they're a wild card. They're the number one wild card team. I told Yankee fans, this is the best team in the American League East. It's not even close. Baltimore has their sophomore slump. They're a good young team. They've got some good young players. They're going to hit a wall. I said this. I said it. The Yankees are built to win. They brought Soto in. It changed everything. It gave them the confidence that they'll protect Aaron Judge. Now they have a guy that can protect Aaron Judge. And by the way, Anthony Volpe, star. I told you, Yankee fans.
He's been tremendous.
He is a star. He is a star. This guy's going to be the best shortstop in baseball in the next 2 years. That's how good he is. He is a great defensive player. He hits for average now, and everybody says, well, he couldn't hit. He struck out a lot last year. Oh, well, he's on. You have that hitting streak. I hit 23 games in a row. I don't know if he's still on that hitting streak, but he is as good a baseball player we've seen at that shortstop position since Derek Jeter. So I love what I see. He's probably going to win the Gold Glove again at shortstop again this year for the American League. This kid is a sensational player. Brian Cashman, there was a lot of people reaching out to Brian. They wanted him. The Yankees would not trade him. And look, and Dominguez is coming back. Dominguez, the alien, he's coming back. I mean, this lineup could be stacked.
Why would they ever move him?
Who?
Why would teams think that they would trade him?
Well, Volpe? Volpe, because the Yankees had a promise of shortstops in their farm system. And Perea, it was another guy that they had. And a lot of people thought, hey, the Yankees could move Volpe and keep these two other young guys that they have in their infield. They didn't. Volpe was their guy. They saw him to be their guy. And by the way, Anthony Volpe wasn't a top 10 pick. He was, I think, 16th or 19th by the Yankees. And
in baseball, first round doesn't matter as much.
No, but he's
more about development.
Another great find by the New York Yankees. And he might not even – Frederick Arias might be the better shortstop that they have right now in their farm system. The Dominican that they brought that they signed a couple of years ago that everybody thinks is a 5-tool player. He might even be better than Volpe. So it's crazy what the Yankees have right now in their farm system and what they could turn out to be in the very near future. They have a lot of promise. They have Jones. They have Dominguez. They have Volpe. They have guys that they could build. They have the kid Hampton right now, the arm that they have in their farm system. And by the way, Gil has been unbelievable. I mean, coming back from his Tommy John surgery, he's been fantastic. I mean, I don't know if you bring up the Yankees and what Gil is pitching right now. I'll bring it up for the Yankees. It is unbelievable what he is pitching right now. Luis Gil, since he's come back, Luis Gil is 7-1 with a 1.99 ERA, 63 innings, 79 strikeouts, and a 0.95 whip. This guy right now is a Cy Young candidate, and he's not even their best pitcher. I mean, right now, Garrett Cole's not even played yet. I mean, just look at their three.
Hopefully, when he comes back, it's going to be he's going to be able to find himself and not going to have to be a little rusty. Because the Yankees, I don't think can afford that.
Marcus Stroman's pitching very well too. I mean,
how many innings is he going in game?
About 6. Marcus Stroman's been.
That's good. I know in the past few years he's going like 5, which I don't like. If you're a starting pitcher and you're going 5, that's not good for me.
I'm looking at Marcus Stroman's numbers right now. Marcus Stroman right now, he is 5-2 with an ERA of 2.73, 69 innings, 55 strikeouts, 1.23. He's having a great season. Nestor Cortez is having. Did you see Clark Schmidt? What his numbers were before he got hurt? I mean, Clark Schmidt was just as good as Gil. I mean, Clark Schmidt. I'll tell you right now, Clark Schmidt was. I mean, the Yankees pitching has been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. They don't need arms. Clark Schmidt before he got hurt, he was at 5-3 with a 2.52 ERA, 67 strikeouts with a 1.14 WHIP. I mean, these guys have pitched very, very well. I'm interested to see what Clark Schmidt will be out for about 4 to 6 weeks with his lat injury, but he'll be back. I think you sit him out as long as you can until he's 100% healthy. You don't need him. You have some guys, you have some arms in the farm system. You bring them up as they're pitching very well. And the Yankees pitching coach could be a manager in the very near future. I mean, he's been he's had high accolades over the last couple of years. The Yankees pitching staff did not pitch well last year in the second half, so everybody was like attacking what was going on. But this year, their pitching staff has pitched very, very well. He could be a candidate for a head coaching job in the very near future. So. I mean, the Yankees, there's really nothing bad to say about the Yankees.
I think they're doing a very good job right now. I think everyone about them, their entire coaching staff. I would have been, if you're a Yankee fan, you're very happy they did not pull the panic button and right when Garrett Cole got hurt. They easily could have done that. And I think it's a good thing that they did not do that. I think it could have been bad.
They had Carlos Rodon. And I told that to Yankee fans. Every Yankee fan was jumping off a cliff. And I said, they have Carlos. Oh, he sucks. They overpaid for him. They got Carlos Rodon on a cheap contract, $26 million for a power left-handed arm that's still in the prime of his career, 31 years old. You're out of your mind. For you Yankee fans to put this guy down, he is a good pitcher. He's good, and he can win games in Yankee Stadium as a left-handed power arm. Shame on the Yankee fans torching this guy. And he is laughing to the bank right now because this guy has been as good as any pitcher in baseball. I don't care what his ERA is, 3.09. His whip is good. He has been everything to the Yankees since Garrett Cole has been gone. He's been a good number one to Gil coming back and just being as dominant as he has been too. So the Yankees got a 1-2-3 punch. And Nestor Cortes has done pretty well too this year. I mean, he has been as good as I expected him to be after having an off season last year because of injury. Nestor Cortes, just before we go, I want to give you his numbers for Yankees. Nestor Cortes right now this year is 3-4 with a 3.46, which is a good ERA.
That's good.
And a 75 innings, 74 strikeouts, and a whip 1.09.
That's very good.
Yes. So Nestor Cortes is having a good season too. Even though he's 3-4, the Yankees have not played well in front of him out of all the pitchers. But his ERA is good. His whip is good. His strikeouts per inning is good. He is good. And he's been 13 games he's pitched, and he's been very consistent. So the Yankees are moving in the right direction. This is the best team all around in baseball. It's not even close. Lineup,
I would say right now, yeah, I would agree.
They're the best team in baseball. So we'll see how this team goes into the second half and how good they play in the second half. But Soto's given them life. He really has. And the confidence level of this team has been fantastic. So I'm excited to see what the Yankees are going to do. I mean, it's them in Philadelphia. You can argue those are the two best teams right now in baseball. So, and I think those are the two teams that are going to be fighting for Soto in the offseason. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Lyle, for, obviously being you.
You're welcome.
You crazy ass. And I hope the fans, we went a little bit over our time, a little bit, almost an hour and a half for our show, but got a lot of content in for all you Islander, Ranger fans and hockey fans. We did almost 45 minutes of hockey. Basketball, we gave you about 20 minutes of basketball and a little baseball, 25 minutes of baseball. So we gave you all the stuff, and we'll get into football, OTAs next week. Aaron Rodgers, looking at some people complaining about, some of the thoughts of him, grimacing with his calf and, and his Achilles. And there were some pictures with him taking off his shoe. And
it looked like now in European football, they do it a lot. When the socks are too tight, they cut it. And then it's not like so tight on the leg. And that's what it looked like they were doing, was cutting the sock on his that he was wearing it to loosen it up. That's really what that looked like. It didn't look like he was injured at all.
It'll be very interesting to see what this team is going to be all season long. I'm not going to bet on it. And if you're a Jet fan, don't bet on it. Because
we know how that works.
It takes one injury to screw the Jets up, and they're destined to have that bad injury that's going to cost them the season. So it's always been that way. I'm not going to bet on the Jets. I'm not saying that they can't win. I think the Jets win 13 games this year. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, 13 wins. I expect 13 wins. 12-13. I think their schedule bears well for them to win that many games. But my fingers are crossed like you, Lyle, because I don't expect them to stay 100% healthy. That's why
I don't think you should do that if you're any team, any fan of any team. Shouldn't expect them to stay 100% healthy. I think that's unrealistic.
Well, maybe the Jets will get lucky this year. They stay almost healthy. Anyways, thank you to all the fans. We'll be back next week. We'll get into some football, Jets, Giants, Hard Knocks for the Giants, which is starting, I think, in a week. So for Hard Knocks for the Giants. So if you're a Giant fan, stay tuned. I think you'll be excited. Usually anybody that's on Hard Knocks doesn't win. So good luck for the Giants this year. Anyways, as we all know as Jet fans, we will be back next week. Until then, this is Errol Marks and Lyle Gillian, and we're the Cross Island Podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Good night, everyone.